Hello, greetings, and hi, thank you for tuning in, and it's great to have you here. In the past few days, Sebastian has shown and released several videos on this channel about the new care products from JP Performance, which have been launched under the name Dr.Glossy. And although it was actually clear from the very beginning that these videos would provoke many, and probably also very diverse reactions, we were still quite surprised by the number of reactions in relation to the comments, especially by the intensity of some comments. What particularly surprised me was that the accusation came that we were trying, or now, let's set ourselves aside, because my products from JP Performance that I ordered have not arrived yet. I can only say the same about the products as we mentioned back then in the live stream. Of course, I will test them for you, but so far, Sebastian has tested them for you. There were accusations that Sebastian is trying to speak poorly about the JP Performance products, especially the bucket, as that was the one that had been seen in the videos so far. And I won't share my opinion on the whole thing just yet, because no matter what I say now, it would probably be taken the wrong way by some. Because logically, Sebastian and I know each other. We run this channel together. We are good friends since 2001. No matter what I would say, the accusation would come anyway, that you are biased, and I can understand that. If one were to engage with this channel, if one were to watch our live streams, if one were to look at our video history, then one would quickly realize how ridiculous this accusation is. Because Sebastian and I often have different opinions, and I also frequently disagree with Sebastian on this channel. That is the beauty of this channel, that it allows for different opinions to be presented in videos, publicly, and not just behind the camera, and everyone is allowed to express their opinion. So I thought, why don't we do what I personally would wish for all of us? We will take a look at the whole thing objectively, factually, and based on facts and figures. I have really set my personal opinion aside for this. I left 2021 out of the equation and said, I would look at the example of the video that was about the practical test of the JP, or Dr. Glossy Wash Bucket by Sebastian. I will watch the video again and analyze very closely what was actually said and shown in this video. I did that, and I measured it based on time units. I wrote down what was said in the video, when it was said, and how long these segments lasted. We are not going to go through that again in this video, because then the video would simply become too long. I will quickly and briefly show you the summary, my notes on this analysis. The video is online, so each of you can check it for yourselves and see if you come to the same conclusion. So, I watched the whole video. It lasts 23 minutes and 30 seconds. Welcome everyone, it's great to have you here. Today we are testing the bucket set from Dr. Glossy. 2001. The greeting lasts about 10 seconds. That's clear. It's present in every video. Then it quickly turns to the storage of brought products in this wash bucket system and the compatibility with products from other brands, meaning not Dr. Glossy products. And Sebastian demonstrated that while you can fit a 1-liter bottle, specifically the Tuga Shampoo Teufel, into this bucket, nothing else can fit in from the other side. Other 1-liter bottles do not fit in there. This is just a demonstration of the circumstances. It is not a judgment. It is neither positive nor negative. Sebastian has only shown that the bottles fit in or that the bottles do not fit in. That took about 1 minute. After that, it was about 1 minute on the topic of scratches. That means Sebastian has shown you how to use this insert, where you can place the bottles. And this insert also serves later as a base for raising the bucket when you frequently take it in and out of this transparent bucket. And especially when this base and this insert were previously on the floor at the self-service box, and there might still be dirt or small stones on them, scratches can quickly form on the inside of the transparent bucket. So, that has already upset many people, which I can somewhat understand. The reason why Sebastian showed this in the video and addressed it, at least in my opinion, I didn't ask Sebastian, hey, why did you even do that? Is that the bucket? That it is transparent and, above all, highly transparent. This was highlighted and mentioned in the introduction video by JP Performance regarding these new products as a special aspect. And that is what we generally do on this channel, regardless of who the product comes from, that we are currently testing. We will take a look at what the manufacturer tells us, what promises the manufacturer makes, and above all, what special aspect the manufacturer highlights about the product itself. And when he does that, we will also particularly focus on this aspect in our test videos. The fact that this bucket is highly transparent has been highlighted. And that's cool because we can see the water better that we have in the bucket. We can visually determine more easily whether the water in the bucket is dirty or not. It looks nice, definitely. But Sebastian simply pointed out that because this bucket is transparent, you can see the scratches on the inside clearly. With a bucket that is not transparent, we see these scratches less. That means he simply pointed out that the perceived beauty of a highly transparent bucket will suffer over time. Nothing more and nothing less. And above all, now comes the important point. Some people have been extremely upset in the comments that this point was nitpicked. I watched it again. This sequence in the video lasted 1 minute. And 1 minute broken down from a total video length of 23 minutes and 30 seconds is 4% of the total video duration. 4% of the video duration was about scratches in the bucket. So, with all due love and understanding for criticism, as long as it is constructive, this is not nitpicking. For me, nitpicking would be if at least 1/4 or even 1/3 of the video length had been dedicated to this one point. It wasn't, it was only 4%. And that is what I said before. It is so important that when we make accusations, especially when they are made publicly, they are based on facts and figures. 4% of video lengths. I mean, maybe it's the case that we have all become victims of our media consumption and that our attention spans have simply suffered because we only watch short reels on Instagram or short videos on TikTok. Perhaps it is the case that because this criticism came at the beginning of the video, many people switched off afterwards, saying it's such nonsense, I won't watch the rest of the video at all. I can understand all of that. It's all good and well. But when someone goes and writes nasty things in the comments, and especially makes accusations, they should take the time to watch the entire video. And above all, make the mental effort to put it into perspective and say it was 1 minute in a 23-minute video. That's enough about that. Afterward, it was about, I always rounded it up generously, 30 seconds regarding the handle, and Sebastian said he finds it to be very good, very high quality, and very pleasant to hold, which makes it easy to carry the bucket around. Then it was about 10 seconds, whether the wash bucket fits into the basin where he had filled it with water at the self-service box where he was. This is neutral for now. It is neither positive nor negative. Then it was about the USEND logo, which is integrated into this wash for 10 seconds. I don't know if it was laser cut, if it was stamped, if it was already part of the shape during production, and that this logo is like this and not applied as a sticker. And that Sebastian said, well, from a distance you can't really see it that well, and it's not really suitable for posing. This is neither negative nor positive. These are and were just 10 seconds. It's simply an observation. Then it was discussed for 5 seconds that the dirt trap, when simply placed in the bucket, sinks down by itself. This is a positive point. It does not float on top. Then it was about 30 seconds discussing the initial situation, where Sebastian reiterated what JP himself highlighted as a particular advantage of the bucket in the introduction video. So again, this is a point that JP himself highlighted as a significant advantage of the bucket. And that is that it is elevated by this attachment, which means you have to bend down less while washing. This is a point that the manufacturer itself emphasizes. Sebastian explained this for another 30 seconds. Then, for a total of 2 minutes and 30 seconds, the discussion focused on the tipping hazard of the bucket, because it is elevated and because we have the heavy wash water in the entire structure at the top. It is just the case that I believe no one has really questioned that. If I bump into it, the risk of this structure tipping over is higher than if I simply had a wash bucket that is not on a pedestal and is sitting on the ground. That's all Sebastian said, and he spent a total of 2 minutes and 30 seconds on it. That amounts to 10% of the total video length. And again, This was a significant point of criticism, or a point that many were very upset about, saying, "How can you talk about the tipping hazard for so long?" Whether 2 minutes and 30 seconds or 10% of the entire video is really considered long, and whether this is just another criticism, I believe each of you can decide for yourselves. Then, it was just a total of 3 minutes about the height of the bucket for wheel cleaning. That was probably already a negative point, where Sebastian simply showed that the elevation, the fact that the bucket is on a pedestal, does not help with wheel cleaning. It would need to be taken down and placed on the ground. That lasted 3 minutes or 13% of the entire video. It was rather again. For many of you, it was a critical point. Personally, Sebastian simply showed that the increase in wheel cleaning does not help. For me, this is neutral feedback, but for many of you, it was negative. Then it was about carrying the bucket for 30 seconds, which is possible without bending down, thanks to the elevation and the carrying handle. Sebastian highlighted this as a positive point. Then it was overall, and this is the longest single sequence in the video, or the longest thematic block, as we can call it, lasting 4 minutes, where Sebastian showed you that despite the increase in the wax shine, and I repeat, this is a point that JP Performance itself has highlighted as a significant advantage of the bucket, Sebastian has shown and stated that, from his perspective, this circumstance of having to bend down less in reality was the main topic of the video. It is also stated in the title Reality Check that this is not really the case. It lasted a total of 4 minutes. Now, at this point, and I understand this, as some of you have pointed out critically, one usually washes a car from top to bottom. Why? Because there is the least dirt on the top of the car and the bottom usually has the most dirt, we want to keep the wash mitts we use clean for as long as possible. So that's correct. One typically washes their car from top to bottom. That means you can also leave the bucket on the stand for now and wash the upper areas around the car. 2001. And as soon as you reach, I would say, the lower door edges, at the upper door edges, then I would lower it down, place it on the floor, and then work on the lower areas. And Sebastian did not do that in the video, nor did he address that point. I believe this is valid criticism, and it can be left as is. It fits. This entire part of the video, in which he said, or showed that bending is still necessary from his perspective, and that this does not completely eliminate it from JP Performance, lasted 4 minutes or 17% of the total video length, and I believe rightly so. Many of you perceived this overall negatively. That is also a negative point of criticism. Then it went around for 30 seconds that Sebastian said he likes JP, and he thinks it's really great. Literally, quote, mega good. And this here is something new that has been developed with the bucket and has been tried out. 30 seconds long. Positive point. 1,000. Then also said, 30 seconds long for him personally. He explicitly stated that it is his personal opinion. Now, this ergonomic advantage, which is highlighted and advertised by the manufacturer, is not really present from his perspective and the way he washes. 30 seconds. Then came the part of the video where Sebastian happened to have another person there who had agreed to be part of this video, which was really cool. 1,000. If this person is watching right now, thank you very much for quickly testing it yourself. And in a total of 1 minute and 45 seconds, we saw that this person demonstrated and also said, yes, I have to bend down less thanks to this washing bucket elevation. That is 1 minute and 45 seconds, or 7.5% of the video length, that were positive. Then it was discussed for another 15 seconds in this part that the person said, well, it would be nice if the bucket were a little higher, then it would be perfect. One can view this as negative. One can also see it as neutral, but I can understand if you consider it negative. Then there were another 30 seconds in the video where Sebastian repeated this. It was still part of the other person's argument that this up and down movement, or the need to bend down due to this bucket system, is not eliminated. One can view the year 2001 as negative, but it can also be seen as neutral. And then it went on for another 2 minutes and 30 seconds about the conclusion. There, Sebastian simply summarized everything again, particularly that the height is very comfortable when wearing the bucket, but that you still have to bend down. He referred again to what JP Performance said in his own video. He literally mentioned that maybe he himself did something wrong or misunderstood something. So, it was criticism of himself. He has displayed the positive and negative aspects in the video once again. He reiterated the point that the bucket insert, which allows you to transport the bottles in the bucket, becomes unnecessary when you bring water from home to the self-service box. So, as a side note, this applies to every wash bucket. Side note finished. And then he asked for the viewers' opinions again. That lasted 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I don't think it's too bold or far-fetched to say that these 2 minutes and 30 seconds were neutral, summarizing both positive and negative points. What is missing here are, of course, all the filler parts, where Sebastian walked from one SB box to another, where he walked from the SB box to the sink. I did not count those. 1,000 filler materials are included in the video. So, now the question is, and this is what this video is about, is it justified to say that Sebastian, I still say we, that we are trying to speak poorly about the bucket from JP Performance on this channel? And now I have analyzed the individual parts of the video in that sense. Now we can add it all up together. I have done that once. We have 1 minute discussing the scratch susceptibility of the transparent bucket. I am ready to say that this was negative. For 2 minutes and 30 seconds, it was about the tipping hazard of the bucket. From my perspective, it was a neutral presentation of the tipping hazard, where it was simply shown that the bucket, as it is constructed, has a higher tipping hazard when filled with water than when it is standing on the ground. And by the way, whether the 4 products from JP Performance are in this base down there or not makes no difference in this consideration. That's a maximum of 2 kilos that are added at the bottom. And I say a maximum of 2 kilos. You will use up these products. You won't completely refill them every time. This means that, in general, it's less than 2 kilos. From that perspective, it makes no difference. But am I ready to say you perceive this as negative? We consider it negative? For 4 minutes, the discussion focused on the aspect that Sebastian said 2021 for him. It is really important that we repeat this. Sebastian stated that from his perspective and personal opinion, the ergonomic advantage of not having to bend down or bending less while washing is not really present, or not to the extent that JP Performance itself portrays. That was the main point of this video. 4 minutes. Then it went for another minute in total. So I rounded up generously, because the additional person who appeared in the video also confirmed the negatives that Sebastian had brought up. This means that in total, we have video sequences in this video that last 8 minutes and 30 seconds, which could be interpreted negatively. And that is about 4 and 30%. Let's just say 1/3 of the video consisted of negative points. And now I ask you, in a third of a 1 minute video that emphasizes the negative points, is that really speaking poorly? Because that means that 2/3 of the video is either neutrally positive or simply filled with filler material. 1/3 of the video was negative. Isn't it the purpose of a channel that has been critically, objectively, and factually testing car care products for almost 10 years and nearly 4,000 videos to ensure that each video always revolves around the positive and negative aspects of the product and our personal opinion in the form of an overall conclusion? That's absolutely normal. That's how testing works. And above all, what I believe many have forgotten or misunderstood is that a test, a critical test, does not claim that the positive and negative aspects are always balanced, but rather it is oriented towards the product itself. If a product has more negative aspects than positive ones for the tester, then the negatives will prevail. If the product has more positive aspects overall, then the positives will prevail. A test does not claim that the positive and negative aspects always balance each other out or are weighted equally. It is important to consider both the positive and negative aspects. And Sebastian has done this absolutely clearly and unequivocally in this video. There is no doubt about that. Each of you can check this for yourselves. And the same applies, and I have also looked into this, the same applies when we Consider all the videos that have been released so far about the bucket system from JP Performance on the channel. That was the announcement in which Sebastian stated what he suspects JP Performance will do. It was a live stream or a live talk. It was an unboxing. It was a video about which bottles fit into this bucket insert 2001. It was this application video that discussed the risk of tipping, among other things. We just talked about that. It was a review of dirt traps. I included it here, even though, from my perspective, it was a video where the JP dirt trap and the JP bucket were simply included. But it wasn't a video about this product. I included it anyway. It was a video about the dirt trap from JP Performance in the bucket itself. It was a video discussing whether other dirt traps from different manufacturers fit into this bucket. It was an overall conclusion and a video on the topic of the water resistance of the lid that is on it was just released today. And now I went ahead and said which of these videos were neutral, which were positive, and which were negative. Personally, I'm going to bring in my personal opinion again. Until now, we have said that we are looking at this objectively. For me personally, this video here, which dealt with the tipping hazard among other things, was a neutral video because the advantages and disadvantages of the bucket were simply laid out. I included it in the negatives anyway because some of you perceived it as negative. And that may already be a mistake on my part, or my personally distorted perception. Unfortunately, it is the case that we tend to perceive the loudest voices the most strongly, especially on social media. I still included it in the negative videos, and I also included the video in the negative videos that dealt with the dirt trap, where Sebastian clearly showed that the dirt trap that comes with JP is, factually speaking, a bit nonsense, or does not fulfill the purpose that the dirt trap is actually supposed to fulfill. But I will also make a separate video on that point. For me personally, the neutral aspects were the announcement video with Sebastian's speculations, our live stream and live talk, the unboxing video by Sebastian, which bottles fit in or not, and the overview of dirt traps USAND, where the JP bucket was simply included, as well as the alternative dirt traps, where Sebastian looked at which others fit in. Yes, of course it is. Negative that no other dirt traps fit into this bucket from JP Performance, but that doesn't make the video negative just because Sebastian pointed out this fact. So, we really need to keep things in perspective. The overall conclusion was positive, where Sebastian clearly stated that, in his view, he would recommend making a purchase. And today's video about the water resistance of the lid was positive in my view. Sebastian showed that a few individual drops come out, but the lid is initially sealed. That means we have an equal number of positive and negative videos. We have many neutral videos in which we simply dealt with what the bucket can do, what it cannot do, what the advantages are, and what the negative points are. I personally do not understand where the accusation comes from. That we are trying to speak poorly about this bucket. I really don't get it. I can only imagine now. This is now purely my interpretation. I can try to piece together why that is. And I believe that a lot has to do with the phenomenon of fanboyism. If you are a huge fan of JP Performance, you tend to perceive any form of criticism, no matter how tiny or small, as an attack on your own symbol. And when someone strongly identifies with JP and his persona and his products, it also feels like an attack on their own identity. Then defense mechanisms come into play. This is simple psychology. Well, that's just how it is. You watch this video from Sebastian, see that he spends 1 minute in a 23.5-minute video discussing the scratch susceptibility of a transparent bucket. And then you interpret that as putting it down or speaking poorly about it. This is how I can personally explain it, what I would wish for, and this is my call to you, and this is the reason why I made this video. We need to try to view such things a bit more factually and objectively. Sit down. Each of you has a smartphone with a stopwatch, you might have a wristwatch, you have the time stamps in these videos. Sit down. Take a look at how long these individual video segments are, and what the percentage of these video segments is compared to the total video. And I believe that then we can talk much more objectively about what really constitutes speaking poorly and what does not. And what is very, very, very important to me is that we need to distinguish between objective, factual, constructive, and understandable criticism and personal opinion. If our videos come across as speaking poorly to you, if they give you that impression, and if you feel that it is indeed speaking poorly, then please feel free to write that down, for heaven's sake. But then you have to make it clear that this is your personal opinion, and that's easy and quick to do. In my opinion, this is speaking poorly about it. I have the feeling that this is a negative portrayal. It gave me the impression that this is bad. And one cannot and should not and is not allowed to excuse oneself by saying that one is too lazy to write it down or that one does not have the time to write it down. The beauty of the German language is that it is a very precise language, and we have the opportunity to make it very clear, simple, and quick to distinguish between what an opinion is and what objective, factual, constructive criticism is. And there should be no difference between the spoken and the written word. So if that is your opinion, then express it. We are here, we live here in Germany or in the German-speaking area of Europe. We have freedom of speech, and everyone is allowed to express that. But we need to make it clear when it is a personal opinion. Then we can read and see that it is your personal opinion, and we are the last ones who wouldn't sit down and think about it. In 2021, can we not design our videos differently or say things differently so that you don't get the impression that it is negative talk? But when one tries to disguise their personal opinion as criticism, it becomes tricky. One should not do that, and it should not be done. Criticism is always present and must be factual, objective, and comprehensible. Ideally, it should also be constructive. That means it should give us the opportunity to improve things based on your feedback. If you simply write to us that we are speaking poorly about things, then that is not criticism, because it does not give us the slightest opportunity to improve anything based on your comment. That is the difference between criticism and expressing an opinion. And I believe that is one of the problems when it comes to phenomena like the JP videos again. It was completely clear from the very beginning that these videos would divide opinions, because on the other hand, it must also be said very clearly that there were just as many, from my personal perspective, absolutely idiotic and nonsensical comments that swung in the opposite direction, attacking JP performance, especially regarding the pricing. I will definitely make a separate video on that point, because I also have a clear opinion on it. From that perspective, it was clear from the beginning that it would be controversial. But, as Sebastian has already said, our request is to remain objective, to remain fair, and to remain factual. Take the time, sit down, and analyze things a little more closely. These are 20 minutes of your life. Everyone should be able to take the time to watch the video again, think briefly, and only then write a comment. If you found the video helpful, insightful, exciting, and interesting, please give us a thumbs up. Feel free to support the channel with a free subscription and tune in for the next video. Goodbye.